folks, I'm getting my booster. Ouch.
We're done.
Okay.
That's it.
I am still not feeling that well after having been transformed into a little fly. But anyway, the reason I have my computer here is because I did a little something in the week. It was very difficult with my little tiny fly fingers to work the keyboard. But I did manage to get some things done. But I thought I'd start out first talking about something that came up this last week. I did finally get an email from, I guess this USDA grant, micro grant for food security that was available in Alaska. I applied for it, and then there was a second round, and I was invited to apply for that, and so I did that. And this is for the walk-in cooler downstairs. And I just got an email from them that said, too bad, so sad, you don't get any grant funds for this. And which, like, I'm happy in a number of ways. First of all, because it would have been a lot of work to try and get that done on top of a number of other things going on. And at the same time, I have this ambivalence about the whole grant thing. In the past, I've never done grants because I just have this thing about them. You know, like I get, you know, everybody pooling our taxpayer money to pay for things like, you know, that affect interstate commerce, like roads and railroads and airplane stuff and ferry systems and broadband and all that stuff. But like, I decided I wanted to live out in the sticks in Alaska. And so like, hey, somebody help me pay for my walk-in cooler. Anyway. But in the past, I've just been so hard on myself about these kinds of things. I decided, you know what? I'm just going to do this thing. I'm going to apply for this thing. So anyway, I didn't get it. But I still have applied for the USDA NRCS program for a high tunnel, and I am still doing that. So we shall see. I'll be talking to one of the program people at the conference that's going to happen in February, Southeast Alaska Farmers Summit. So anyway, there's that. Yeah. Am I slightly hysterical? Maybe I am. So anyway, so yeah, I've been spending a day or so typing on the computer, working on my garden layout, just to decide what I'm going to plant in what beds, so then I can make a seed order. And so take a look at that. Okay, so this is my garden. These are the two greenhouses on the north end of the garden. And on this side was kind of the lettuce and the baby chard. And now I'm looking at doing a swap of kind of carrots and kale and mature chard. On this side was the carrots and the chard and kale and stuff. And so I'm doing a swap for like kind of lettuce and stuff like that. But I am missing one full bed that is got excavated during the excavation, as I'm expanding the garden into this area out here. And in this area out here, I had hoped to have soil by this time and seaweed put on it, and I might be able to grow a few things, but no soil yet, and so that will maybe happen in the spring or late spring. We shall see. So I'm going to try and figure out how to get potatoes out there because I have no other place to put potatoes. And then I will probably just plant a bunch of clover out there to try and get some nutrients into the nitrogen into the soil, you know, anyway. So that's gone. So instead of 11 40-foot beds at 30-inch width, I have only 10. And so I'm putting my little mint pot out the corner again. And as I've been thinking about how nice it is to have a lot of things for me to eat, I've thought about doing a full bed of leeks, which makes me really sad because it's just going to kind of sit out there and, you know, have to grow for a whole summer until I can have it, you know, like in the fall. So it just feels like a waste of a bed. And then this would have to be covered in a little tunnel. But since my tunnels have been working out so good for me, I'm kind of happy about that. I'm happy about that thought. And I might have to buy maybe a little bit more wire or something and figure out my plastic widths and stuff like that. But anyway, tentatively, this is all tentative. Leeks in this far bed. And then I'm going to do 3 beds of lettuce. I know that 3 beds of lettuce all at once was too much. I did them planted in succession, but it still was just too much. I really didn't need that much. So what I want to do is get two beds of lettuce planted in a succession. So like plant them in a couple of week intervals. And that should be enough for a while. But what I found was they got kind of old quickly and they wanted to bolt towards the end of the summer. And so it would be nice to have a nice fresh bed of lettuce. So I think what I'm going to do is start one of these beds out in spinach or something like that. Something that can grow early, even though I'm not a big fan of spinach because it bolts so quickly. So that might change it, you know, but anyway, the plan is maybe to plant a full bed of spinach and then later transplant out some lettuces. Oh yes, and the other thing is that I'm going to be undersowing or sowing amidst the lettuce transplants some green onion transplants. Now last year I had them in a separate bed, you know, a little section down here along with the leeks and the garlic that were growing in this bed. But this time I'm going to try something that Jesse Frost talks about in his book, where he has had success growing green onions in between the lettuces. In this area here, I'm going to start with my we're going to have a bed of chard and a bed of kale. Last year I had 2.5 beds of kale, but it didn't sell very well. Actually, it didn't grow that great. It was very wasn't very tender. And I don't know if it's because I had so much clover planted and undersown in the chard and the kale that maybe it was like sucking the life out of the soil or something. So I'm going to undersow with clover again under the chard and the kale, but I think that I'm going to, you know, like I'm not going to broadcast it. I'm just going to put down, maybe even use the seeder to seed a couple of rows of clover and see if the chard and kale don't grow a little bit better. Could have been the soil in that bed at the time. But anyway, I'd like to have more kale. I may do just a half bed of chard and 1.5 beds of kale. But and if I can find myself another bed somehow, if I can resurrect this bed or something, I'd like to grow another bed of kale, just because I'd like to be able to cut it and freeze it like I've been talking about for the winter. Anyway, this is my bed that's now planted right now in garlic. And so I will have a full bed of garlic. So this one is already assigned something. I tried undersowing parsley in my little patch of garlic this last season. And people say that if you grow something with garlic, that the garlic may not bulb up very well. But I had really nice garlic. The only thing is the parsley underneath did not grow as quickly because it had some shading going on or whatever. But because parsley grows pretty good during the winter, even if it grows a little bit more slowly, it's not like some sort of primary crop that I'm trying to sell. So once I've pulled the garlic, I have a bed of parsley that I could put under a tunnel and see if I can't eat out of that during the winter time. So that's the tentative plan for that. I am going to do 3 almost full beds of carrots because they sell really well, and they it's a great money-saving thing for me to have carrots for myself. During the winter, I may do just 1/4 bed of beets because I realize I don't really need that many beets. And they were kind of a pain to deal with as far as selling them. So, but I do want to have them, so I think I'm going to go ahead and try like a little 1/4 bed of beets. But yeah, carrots do really good. In the greenhouses, I'm just swapping over. This greenhouse was basil last year. I had the worst season for basil. I think it's just simply because we had one of the coldest summers. And this is going to now be cucumbers. And I also am planning, you're like, where's your baby chard that you put in your salad mixes? I think I am going to grow not only my orach, but also my baby chard in the greenhouse underneath the cucumbers, and because the baby chard did really good in the greenhouse. Now, if I end up with a really hot summer, which really hot, it never gets really hot here, so it probably doesn't matter. I also have planned, possibly, I've been wanting, you know, between the two greenhouse beds to, like, it's just wasted space. I'm half thinking about tilling them up, tilling the space between the beds up and planting in between the beds and possibly doing the baby chard in there. I don't know how it will do, like being on the ground. I've thought about raising things up, but I don't like dealing with growing things in containers, I've found. So I think I don't know. That's going to be up in the air. But this other greenhouse, it was cucumbers. We are swapping over to basil in this greenhouse. And in the early season, in both of these greenhouses, I'm going to try some stuff again that worked really well. In this one, I'm going to try some carrots, but they're going to be, you know, something that can be not like a long season carrot, but like a young, small carrot that I could pick quickly. Also, sugar snap peas and some baby kale started in here before I end up transplanting out basil. And in here, it looks like I'm going to try maybe some early spinach or baby chard and some transplanted out lettuces early because that worked well. And of course, you know, at the bed ends, I'll be doing mustard and bok choy transplanted out, and that's going to happen out in the garden beds again because that's for slug attractants away from other crops, which seems to work pretty good. Okay, so that's that with that. And I don't know if next week I'll get to the seed order. Next week is Christmas. And last year I just did a boat video. But I don't know. I think I'm going to do my boat video the 1st of January, like normal. And so we'll see what I do next week for the regular vlog type video. So it'll be a surprise. I have been wanting to do this book, not really ever, it's kind of just talking about some of the ideas in this book by Peter Singer called Practical Ethics. And I read it last year, and there are a couple other books I read, you know, with some ideas that I've been thinking about, but it's kind of about like dead animals and dead babies and dead people, you know, so it's not very festive. But I don't know, maybe I'll put that out next week. Anyway, until then, I hope everyone has a Merry Christmas, Happy Solstice, and other winter holidays. And I will see you guys next week.